All right, Wednesday practice. It was mostly good. We're trying to deal with crowd noise in practice, so there were a few things that we got to keep getting better at. It's really hard to get the cadence just right when it's loud, and so we are blasting it. So we're getting used to noise, that's for sure. And we'll get some more tomorrow, and it'll help us clean that up. But overall, it was a good day. Felt like our scouts really gave good effort. I think it helps to have this kind of weather, this kind of temperature. But they know how important their job is, and they've really, almost every day, done a great job. There's been a few rough spots, but really do appreciate the work those kids do for us. Well, with that, I'll let y'all ask the questions. I'm not sure what you want to know.
Any particular reason you didn't practice on grass today?
It's just too slick.
Too slick.
Those fields are they're just too wet still. I mean, 15 days of rain, and I was hoping that from yesterday and today that it would be dry enough, but with ryegrass there, and it's just still being so moist, we're just afraid of somebody slipping. Matter of fact, they said our kickers went up there and worked, and I guess 3 of them slipped and landed on their rear end just from kicking. So we probably made the right decision. I was thinking tomorrow for sure, but if it's that slick, we may not. You don't want a guy to pull a groin or something trying to go full speed on the wet. It's a good question, by the way. Good one.
It was such a nice day in the field.
Oh yeah, don't they do? I said let's take a picture of it,
yeah.
At least, because they do look great, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoever lined those fields did an outstanding job, by the way. Those lines are very straight. I've seen some crooked ones around here, so not anytime lately, but.
You've been coaching with Coach Lilly for a while. You knew him back at Florida State.
That's right.
What's the advantage of having a guy that you've known for so long, maybe on your staff, kind of him or BMAC maybe?
Well, I mean, just guys you know, and guys you have been through a lot with, and guys that you know. When you coach that long together, you have a friendship, because there's a lot of things we do socially as well. I say a lot. We'll do some coaches trips together, and we have family nights. You just get to know people better. You get to know their families a little bit better over time, and that's a big part of it. And Coach Lilly, like you said, and I have been. The thing that Coach Lilly and I had is a little bit different relationship, because I wasn't head coach at Florida State. I was kind of in the trenches with him as an offensive coach. So there's that camaraderie that's a little bit different than it is now, because it's just, when you're the head coach, it's just a little bit different.
Is it good to have a little consistency maybe in the certain units? I mean,
Oh yeah.
Tight ends for 7 years.
Yeah, he's done a great job and helped us out on the special teams as well. And yeah, there's no doubt he's done a good job for us.
Coach, in the wild dog formation, many times you had Grayson Lambert lining up at wide receiver. What is the advantage of that as opposed to maybe a different wide receiver that might pose a better?
Well, one thing is somebody's got to call the play. So if you got guys that aren't used to calling plays in the huddle, and if you don't have a QB in there, then that's an issue. The other thing is, if people see you come off the sideline with no QB in the game, then they're pretty sure what they're going to see. Where, if you huddle and then break the huddle, you're not sure until, the last little bit whether it's going to be a traditional play or some kind of wild dog play. So those are some of the reasons. I've never seen anybody just not cover the quarterback, and maybe somebody will one day, but for right now, they do still put somebody out there, and our QBs are really good receivers, so you better guard them.
You mentioned that Terry, you got to play back for Terry to throw the ball out of the wild dog. Now, he played a little bit of quarterback in high school. What did you remember from when he played quarterback?
Just a very good athlete who can run all those types of plays that people do run from the wild dog, but also he throws a nice tight spiral. I remember he he could spin it pretty good.
What do you make of the kind of year that Marshall Morgan's having? Seems like he's had some couple of uncharacteristic type misses.
Yeah, up and down. Most of his misses were slightly right or left. Not he hasn't yanked many. You know what I'm saying? That ball starts going sideways and hooks and you're like, what in the world? But most of them have just been off slightly. Most of them are still end over end. Most of them get height right away. Not all of them, because he's made a couple that were kind of going sideways. Just I actually looked at his career. I don't know how I got to looking at his career, but year one it was kind of a struggle for a freshman. Year two was the one that he really hit, I don't know, 85, 90%, whatever it was. Hit I think 18 in a row at one time, or 22. I don't know what it was. Some kind of SEC record of consecutive makes. And then last year was better than the first year, but not quite as good. It was more in the 70% range, 75% range. And he's kind of hovering around there right now. So he just hasn't been quite as consistent as I've seen him. But it hasn't been a horrible year by any stretch. But we just hope he finishes strong, and those percentages will go up. And if he finishes strong, it'll help us win here at the end.
Coach, is there any indication on how long Sonny's going to have to wear the cast on his hand?
Well, I think the cast will get modified over time. You got to have a really hard shell on it in the beginning until it heals down enough. And we X-ray every so often just to see how the healing's going. And then somewhere along the line it'll be a little bit less, and then a little bit less, and then nothing. So it just, usually when you talk about bones, you're talking about 4 to 6 weeks of healing time. And this one, it's one of the bones, metacarpals, right? Is that what that is? Metacarpal? Metatarsals on your foot, by the way, if you didn't know that. But anyway, so if that's the bone, it had a little bit of a diagonal crack to it, and sometimes they'll shift on you when they have that diagonal crack, but this one thankfully didn't shift, but it was at an angle that it could if you don't protect it. So it's getting better and stronger, but it's not quite ready for just a padding. Got to be a hard cast.
What ramifications do you envision from college football players now potentially feeling empowered to spark change on a variety of fronts, including possible compensation? You touched on this the other day.
Yeah, well, I think this is American. I think this is one of the greatest countries. I think it's the greatest country, personally. And we've got a right to make statements. We have a right to protest. We have a right to boycott. We have a right to do all kinds of things, and if there's an injustice of some kind or something that needs to be changed, I think when it's done the right way, it could be very effective. So I think it's true of our student athletes, of students in general, of people in general. I mean, it's just the way our country works, and I think it's good.
James Deloach had some big plays the other day.
He did.
He's a guy that's kind of come on, and
He did.
Obviously, he was only one of those 4 who was caught up in that thing a couple springs ago. That's still here.
Yeah, I forgot
Did you ever
about
have any doubt that he was a guy who was going to be able to get past that?
Oh yeah, I did. I mean, he made a foolish mistake. All those guys did. It was not the worst thing in the world that ever happened, but it was not wise and certainly wrong. But once they go through their discipline, and if they learn from it, it's a very good thing. And the funny thing about Deloach, we're trying to decide on who to name captain this last game, and he was one of the candidates, and so I can't remember what the deciding factor was, but we decided to make him captain going into that game, and then he plays the best game of his life, so we named him captain again, hoping he'll do it again. So we'll name him captain again if he plays good like that. But anyway, it was good to see him, just really show up and make some big plays and like you say, overcome some of the obstacles early on.
But rivalries, and we've talked many times about Georgia has so many, seem to carry special significance, and certainly this game does. But obviously, it hasn't gone well this year against rivals. Does that turn up the heat as you keep going and you got another rival? And
I really think they have a life of their own. I'm not keeping track of which rival games we won or didn't win. I guess y'all do, but I don't. I mean, they're all big to me.
Is Reggie Davis going to be good to go?
Yeah, Reggie's fine.
Is everything okay with Abram? Is he had to get checked out by a trainer during practice?
I didn't see that. I didn't hear anything.
So
Ron would, if something big happened, he would tell me walking off the field. So I'd be surprised if there was something big.
Coach, one thing you mentioned the other night, I believe it was on the call-in show, you talked about Jeb Blazevich and kind of how he's battling some tired legs. Can you kind of go a little bit further into that, like what exactly he is dealing with in terms of...
I think he's fine now, but from camp, I think everybody gets a little dead-legged in camp, and then, once we break out of camp and we start going with the one-a-days, and really, I say camp, there is a lot of volume during that time, but his legs got tired like a lot of them, and then usually everybody got revived. We had 2 or 3 days off somewhere in there, and everything started to come back. But it just seemed like he was struggling with getting his legs back, and I think there might have been a little ankle sprain in the middle of that as well. So he just wasn't running as good as we've seen him run before. Seemed like he was just laboring a little bit, and but now he's fine. But there was a stretch early in the season where we're like, come on. I mean, we didn't think it had nothing to do with effort. It probably to do with that he gave so much effort every single day that he washed out a little bit, and then didn't recover as quick as we would hope.
Do you know about when it was when you kind of saw him start to come out of that a little bit?
2-3 weeks maybe. Yeah.
How much do you think tempo is going to be a factor Saturday for defense?
Well, we are used to getting lined up pretty quick. I think we'll get lined up. I think Coach Pruitt is really good at getting calls in quickly and getting everybody ready to go. But did you watch that game last week? You could just see how fast they go. I mean, it is like breakneck speed. And when they start having a little success, no matter how ready you are for it, it's like bang, bang, like you get these punches, and you're not having any time to recover in between. You got to go to the next one, go to the next play, go to the next play. And that's the mentality that you have to have. You've got to have a super short memory because you do have to play the next play. And if you don't, and you let the last one beat you by not getting lined up or just missing one gap. You miss one gap, and a lot of what they're doing, is pounding that ball. A lot of teams that's, like I was saying before, a lot of teams that spread and go fast, they're throwing, they're this and that. But when you're running that ball, if you don't get your gaps just right, they're gonna hit a big one, and you see it all the time. Just strategically, Coach Malzahn, if he wins the toss, he's taking the ball. He wants the ball. He wants to go fast. He wants to knock it down your throat. He wants to take momentum immediately. So that's important for us to play good defense.
Last question. Coach, Kentucky's scoring defense is pretty low in the SEC, and Auburn's actually last, giving up more points than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Is it kind of refreshing after playing so many good defenses to play 2 teams like that?
Oh, what a loaded question that is. Here's what I say. Auburn was giving up about 30 points a game. And if you go strictly by the stats, now I will say ever since Carl Lawson's been back, they've been giving up 18 points a game, which would put them one of the best in the league. And from what I saw the last couple ball games, that's what you got to kind of gauge where they are, in my opinion, where they are is playing really good defense and playing stinking good offense too. And of course I don't know if I mentioned this to the group, but their kicking units, they've only had 10 kickoffs returned on them. They've only had 4 punts returned on them all year. 14 returns all year is the best in America. So their special teams have done very well. Their kick return team, they're second and third in the league as far as the individuals that return kicks. And I think they're fourth in America in kick return. So, you know, if it becomes a field position game, and the way they're playing defense now, it's going to be a battle royal is what I think. All right.